Dear ESTS members and webinar attendees, I would like to welcome you on our 7th webinar in the 2018-2019 series. As you can see, probably we have a small technical problem right now, and we are trying to solve this within a few minutes. And then I hope you can see our guest speaker. As you know, my name is Lieve de Pieperen, your ESTS webinar coordinator and your moderator for today. Today will be about safety protocols in the OR. And I'm very proud to introduce you to Professor Nuria Novoa as a guest speaker. Professor Novoa is a consultant general thoracic surgeon at the University Hospital of Salamanca in Spain, and she is in charge of education activities of the general thoracic surgery residency program there. As a co-leader of the ESTS Quality of Life and Safety Working Group, she has a special interest in safety management, and that is something she wants to share with us today. I think we can already hear Professor Novoa.
Yes, hello everybody.
Okay.
Thank you very much for contacting. I'm very sorry, but something is happening that let me go to help and see. Well, I don't know what it's happening.
Maybe the camera is not that important.
No, I was trying to share my screen. That was all I was trying to do.
I think that is the most important thing.
Well, first of all, before all those things, I would like to thank especially Lieve and all the organizers of these webinars for the invitation to discuss such an interesting, although infrequent topic. And I hope that the machine wants to do exactly what it has to do.
That's no problem. Just take your time. Maybe you prepared some questions for us. Maybe I can launch this one already.
Yeah.
Or is it something you want to do during the presentation?
No, we can discuss those things and let some more time to the computer and see if we can share the screen to see the presentation.
Okay.
Okay. The first question has to do with how important is safety issues for you. So I would like very much to have some information about if you do think about safety issues in another different moment than when you have a mistake or you have found an error, or maybe today that we are going to discuss this. So first of all, I would like to know about that. Is this something important to you or no? So can you vote please in the poll? And
so for the
in
audience,
order to see exactly.
in the right sidebar, you have questions, polls, and people. And in the polls, there is one question right now. Do you consciously think on safety issues when starting your morning routine? So do you think of it when you're getting up out of bed? Yes or no?
I don't know why.
So people are voting. This is good.
I don't know. My screen is completely freeze. All I can see is that it's people connecting. There are 26 people already connected.
That's correct.
But it doesn't move. I mean, I cannot share my screen. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
So in the actions, you cannot enable.
All I can do is cancel.
Sorry?
All I can do is cancel. I go to actions and it says enable screen sharing.
Yes.
I go to sharing, but it doesn't allow me.
It does not allow.
I don't know what had happened.
Okay, then we should probably go back to another browser.
And see if I can do it from, I don't know, I have to try also for Firefox. Let me go back to Firefox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a second.
Yeah, no problem. We see you back in a minute. So in the meanwhile, we have 8 people that were voting, but we have more online. So maybe everyone can vote in the meantime. And then I can maybe also launch a second question. And the second question is, do you have a specific checklist in your OR? So this is another one you can vote on. If you already have some specific questions regarding safety management, then you can also ask them, and then we can discuss it later on. So the question, you can turn the camera. Yes, we are aware of it, but this was a technical problem. It was the rear camera because the other one didn't work, and there's a problem with the browser also. So we are trying to get this done. So most of you are thinking on safety issues when getting up. Okay. I'm not always doing that. But the specific checklist in the OR, yes, most of you have this also. Okay. Where are you supposed to vote? In the polls. So you are using the questions bar right now, and then you have the second one. This is the polls, and then you have people. So in polls, you can vote on question 1 and question 2. I think that is clear for everyone now, and I hope we can find our guest speaker back. Last week we tested everything. Everything worked fine. I saw the whole presentation. It was fine. So we don't know why it doesn't work today. So I hope we can have Professor Novoa back in a few minutes. But it doesn't seem to be like that right now. Okay.
Okay, there I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay.
Clearly. We can hear you, we can see you.
Okay, and then I'm gonna try to share my screen and see.
Okay.
Okay, share the screen. I don't know why it takes so long, because I mean it is doing whatever it has to do, but it takes very long.
Okay.
So, well, I didn't connect, and I didn't see the answers to the first question. I don't know.
Okay, so I already did the second question also, but the first question was, do you consciously think on safety issues when starting your morning routine? And almost 90% is answering yes, and 30% is answering no. So people are really thinking about that already from getting out of bed in the morning. And the second question was, do you have a specific checklist in your OR? And let's say 3 and 4 is answering yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is interesting. I like those. I don't know why it's not working, but well, I like those percentages, because it means that people is seriously involved in safety, which is now is a big problem, as we well, I hope we can see. I don't know what to do. I'm just waiting.
In the actions bar, you have an action bar. What did you do? Enable screen sharing?
Yeah. edit
Okay.
it, and it opens like a small menu, and it
Okay.
says, "Do you want to share that?" And say, and I
Yeah.
try to say, "Yes, I want to allow the sharing," but
Okay.
somehow it doesn't want me to do this.
Okay. And then you can try the second one, share a media.
Okay, wait a second,
Maybe this works.
because I have something disabled, screen sharing. One moment. Okay, and then go to share a media.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try this.
Okay, the only thing is I have already the media open, so 1 second, I'm gonna close this one.
And then we can try to open
Yeah,
this one
go to
that way.
open.
Yeah. Does that work?
1 second, it's coming. Okay, share a media, drag and drop. Okay, 1 second. Okay, now use shared from media.
Does it work? Can I help you with something?
It doesn't find my it doesn't find my presentation. It says please use screen sharing.
Okay.
Monday, no, I don't know. Rename data date. No.
Is the big file or the one
I don't know.
you
I don't know. I have a red video signal here that I don't know exactly what it means. This is a safe connection, permissions, use the camera. Yes.
Yeah, this is fine. This is also, we see, we hear you.
Use the make. I don't know what to do.
Is it a big file, your presentation?
Is it big?
Is it a big
Sorry?
file? Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Okay.
I can send it to you. Okay,
For the audience, I'm very sorry. We tested this last week. It was perfect. We don't know what the technical problem is right now. I hope to solve this within 5 minutes, but to avoid this, we always test everything, and apparently it worked last week. Yeah.
I don't know. It's as soon as I saw this red line, it did stop working.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can already see you. That's already something.
Yeah, well, that's something. Yeah.
If you try to
I'm sending you the presentation, the final one.
To me, yes. Then we can maybe we can go on with the polls in the meanwhile, or in the meantime, or you can already give a small introduction, and then I'll try to start the presentation from here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just 1 second. I'm gonna disconnect. just for 1 second, and then I will connect later on, okay, to make this process faster.
Okay, I hope we'll see you back then.
Yeah, hope so.
Maybe in the meantime, I can ask the audience if you have any suggestions for the webinars for next season. So we have one on new technology and the role of simulation next month with René Petersen, 20th of May, and this is the last one in this season. Next season, we already prepared some subjects. We are thinking of some speakers, but any suggestions are welcome, of course. So you can also add this in your questions bar if you have any suggestions for items for next or subjects for next season. Something you are very interested in, something you want to know more about, please you can send this to me. Okay, I get a text message that this is emailed to me. So I'm going to try to get it. I'm just afraid that it's too large. Because I didn't get anything. No suggestions for next year? Or something you want to see again? This is also an idea, of course.
Okay, I'm.
Okay,
I'm here.
You're back.
I hope you have.
I didn't get anything right now. I hope it's not too large.
No, it was not too large. It has no videos because I removed all those things.
Okay.
It was just a presentation.
Okay.
Let me try. Level screen sharing. I'm trying again. Meanwhile, you get my presentation. I'm trying to get.
No, it's coming in. No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
I'll try to start it up, and then we can start.
I'm very sorry, but I don't know. I cannot understand what happened.
No, it's fine.
Because really, it was working last week,
yes, yes, it was.
And I connect 2 days ago, and it was working. So I said, okay, I have nothing else to do. I just went on and.
And now I seem to have the same problem. What is happening? So this doesn't work.
It is like, well, I don't know. Something. Can you see the right light? The red light.
Yeah.
Of a video over there, and there was no way.
I don't know what happened in here. Everything worked. else can we do? To try to save this one and then. I don't get it. Then the last thing I can try is doing this from the third computer.
Well, as long as I can see the presentation, I can talk, and there is no problem.
That's it. I'm going to try this on an extra computer, and I hope I can do it from there. I really don't get it. I see your problem right now because I have the same one here, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any warnings from Livestorm that this was going to be a problem. So I'm not happy about this.
Well, meanwhile, we are in this situation. I'm trying to solve it because I don't know what to do.
I'm really trying, yes.
I would like maybe using the chat. Maybe using the chat, we can somehow communicate a little bit. What I would like to know is how, to your answers, it seems like you have a specific checklist in your OR. So it seems like most of you are working every day with a checklist that it is specific for thoracic surgery, or is just specific because it is for complex surgery, or what do you mean about that? I don't know, maybe we can...
People can in the questions bar, they can ask questions, or they can say something. You can answer on that. And if you want specific polls, I can.
No, don't worry about that. Just to try.
I'm still trying here.
Yeah.
On the third computer. But I don't get there. Why is that? So I asked also some ideas for upcoming subjects. So they could also do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that it is impossible to enable screen sharing?
Maybe it is a problem of the
yeah,
platform.
It could be. I I didn't get any warnings for that, so I'm not happy about that. But I'm afraid we will have to look for a new date for this, huh?
It seems so, because it is not working at all.
No, wait. Now I'm going to try to. It is possible that now you will see me from 2 cameras.
And no, I just see you in one. Not yet. Maybe. Okay, there is another camera. Yeah,
yes.
I'm looking at you. 2 cameras.
And then,
one is on the front and the other one is on the side. Okay. Please, yeah, mute one of the.
and it's just the same. And it's just the same here.
It happened exactly the same.
Yeah. It's impossible. Okay.
Well.
Yeah, thank you, Herbert, for the Corona Firefox. We know that. I'm sorry. I'm going out of one. Okay, otherwise it's going to give a lot of noise. No, I know that we need Chrome or Firefox. We did. Everything worked last week. We have a problem with sharing our media. That's the problem, and I think it's a Livestorm problem because I have it on every computer. Okay, this is a problem, huh? The only thing I can do is indeed what they suggest right now is putting my computer in front of my camera. This is going to be fun. And then maybe we can do this, but it will be a problem.
Well,
does it work like this?
There are no videos, so everything is just image. I don't know.
This will be a problem, huh?
Well, this is a solution. I don't know. Do you feel comfortable with this?
Not really, but it's no problem.
Okay. If that works, that's okay. Well, then let's start. Okay, you have to. The only one I need you to pass the slides.
Yeah, the next slide is this one. Okay.
Okay, this is the presentation. Okay, let's move on. Please.
I have everything in mirror view, so it's difficult for me.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's start.
Dr. Cowan just came in here to ask us if there's no problem with Chrome or Firefox, but we did both. It's not.
It's not a problem of the
no.
Okay, let's next slide, please. Like in old fashion. Okay, well, according to a recent World Health Organization report, in about 10 years time, it is estimated that 30% of all the burden of disease will be treated using surgery. And also it is recognized that around 65% of all those cancer cases will be cured uncontrolled by surgery. This makes us to be very proud of what we do, but at the same time, can we move next, please? Next slide. It raises a very important issue because we need to improve. Okay, that is perfect.
Is it?
Yeah, can you put maybe a book behind, I mean, under a book or something like that, under the computer so you can leave it?
We're working on
Oh
it.
my God.
We're working on it.
Well, that's fun.
Okay, yeah, it is.
I know,
Well,
yeah.
hi.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Yeah, now I can.
Okay, perfect. So, according to that report and according to current data, uh, surgery is responsible for about 50% of all the adverse effects that we have in hospitalized patients. And what is most worrisome is that at least 50% of all these complications are considered preventable. So they have not only is some consequences for the patient, but also they have legal consequences for the surgeon. Next, please. So when we look at the list of causes of this to anything that is linked to errors, the list is very, very long. But I would like to highlight three of them that somehow summarizes the most frequent ones. The first has to do with the variations that we have in our daily work. I mean, variation like in provided training, the experience, the fatigue, the presence of depression, the presence of burnout, all those conditions that modify the way we work every day. The second one has to do with non-surgical, not technical skills, and mainly it has to do with communication failures. The third course has to do with a failure to apply a basic, well-known principles of surgery. This is amazing, but it happens, and it happens every day. So we have to be aware about that. But please, next slide. But when I'm talking, it seems like when I'm talking about errors, it seems that against errors, we have to offer the best outcome to our patients. And the only way to offer this good outcome to our patients is to achieve a certain level of competence. But regarding competence, I will say there are three main ideas I want to highlight. Next, please. First of all, we cannot achieve that certain level of competence if we are not master in technical skills, but neither if we are not master in non-technical skills. Non-technical skills is something that you can simulate, you can train, and you can learn. So somehow the surgeon as the leader of the OR needs to learn a lot of non-technical skills. Next, please. When I'm talking about competence, I'm not talking about individual competence. I'm talking about team competence. It's very interesting to see, next please, to see how many reports are about what a good team can do. But no matter how good they can go, they achieve improvement to a certain level. Then they need a leader. And this is where is our position to go and try to make the team even better. And again, as surgeons, we have to be leaders in complying with the best practices. And this will bring our team to the best level of safety and level of technical results. So next, please. And the third idea I want to comment about competence has to do with complexity. The more complex the task, the more in need for standardization. That is something that we have learned for many different complex and high-risk industries, as for instance, nuclear energy industries. So how can we make things, all the things, the three things I have talked about, to work all together? Well, next slide, please, if this alarm signal. So we can make everything to work, next slide, please, using a very simple tool, the checklist. The checklist is really a must. It improves safety through repetitive verification because it obliges you to focus all your attention on whatever is being discussing at the moment, and it addressed most of the human factors issues that are relating to patient safety. So as we, next slide please, as we asked you before, I was curious about to know if you got a specific test list in your OR, and I'm happy to see that most of you have it. But next slide please. But I also wanted to know if any one of you knew about the ESTS checklist, and maybe some of you could be using it. I don't know. It seems like most of, well, you didn't vote on this, so let me know about your about this issue.
So
Okay.
I just opened the
poll
right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Living. So I say that most people, well, there was a person who did know about it. Okay, well, it seems like most of the people didn't know that we have a specific checklist for a complex for complex procedures as ours in the society. If you are curious about it, although we are going to cover it in part, you can find it in the main webpage of the society. So, oh, please, can you go to the next slide, please? So, what is this talk about? We are going to go through the ESTS surgery checklist. We are going to review some of the most frequent surgical errors, and we are going to see how to avoid them. So, next slide, please. The first type of most frequent and more important, because they have legal consequences, of type of errors are what it's called never events. Please, next slide. For all of you that have no idea what this means, we are talking about any medical error that should never happen in the field of medical treatment, that implies serious repercussion for the patient, and of course, it has to be preventable. That's why it has such a legal consequences. Next, please. Although the list of never events, sentinel never events, is very long, well, you'll be surprised to find what kind of things are considered never events. The two more frequent ones are what it's called the wrong surgery procedures and the retained body, foreign bodies. I hope that any one of you have experience in any one of these situations. Next, please. When I'm talking about the wrong surgery, I'm talking about those procedures that are performed not in the right patient, not in the right site, or not in the right procedure, for even though it could be the right person and the right site, but there was something wrong in the procedure. So orthopedics, I brought this example about orthopedics because somehow they are masters in these wrong surgery procedures, because they are normally working on two sides. I mean, and on symmetrical structures that they are not only symmetrical, but they have many different parts. Imagine that you have to operate in a hand. You have 5 fingers and 2 hands. So you have to operate in the right and left and first and fifth finger. So sometimes it can be difficult. But when I was reviewing the data, I was surprised to find that, okay, 60% of the errors that orthopedics made were related to wrong site surgery. Well, that could be okay. But what was really surprising is to find that up to 13% of this wrong surgery was done in a wrong patient. So it seems like it can happen to you. It's something that really happens. So next, please. Next slide. Like it can happen to anyone in any moment. The World Health Organization developed what is called the Universal Protocol. This is a very simple protocol with just 3 steps in which they offer you the opportunity not to get into one of those wrong surgery procedures. The first step is to do a verification of the patient and the procedure. The second has to do with marking the site of the procedure. So there is no doubt about where are you going to do the procedure. Sometimes in order to do this marking, you need to have everything over there to ensure appropriate marking. I'm talking about the medical records of the patient, and I'm talking about images. Okay, so you have to be sure about what you are marking. And the third has to do also with a step in the checklist that is called the timeout. So before the surgeon starts the surgical bond, there should be like some seconds to do a second thought and be sure that there is no a final doubt on patient, site, and procedure. If you look, there are mostly any agency in any country has its own adaptation of this universal protocol. Next, please. And this universal protocol is present in the ESTS checklist, as you can see there. But in the ESTS checklist has a quality that makes it a little bit different from other checklists, because if you take a closer look, well, maybe we will see it later on, it not only check that you have verified whatever items you are looking at, but also there is a second column in what it says what to do in the case that your answer was not the correct answer to any one of those items. So when you are doing this verification process and you find out that your patient is not the correct patient, you should stop, report, and then clarify exactly what is happening. This is how it works. Okay, can we move next, please? So the goal of the universal protocol was so simple that I was surprised to find out that it was still #1 goal in 2019 for one of the major agencies, from one of the largest agencies in the world about patient safety, which is the Joint Commission for Patient Safety. And it is #1 goal. So remember about that, because it can happen to you anytime, and it has not only repercussion for the patient but also legal consequences. Okay, can we move on to the second type of most frequent never sentinel event, which are the retained foreign bodies. Again, this is something that is infrequent, but it can happen. It is estimated to happen in between 1 in every out of 8,000 to 18,000 procedures a year. And normally it is related to emergency procedures, changes in mind about what kind of procedures we are going to do, and of course when we are operating in obese patients. Please, next. So here the protocol is called Nothing Left Behind, and again you can find it at the checklist. Let's move on. I like next slide, please, Leven. I like it, especially this protocol, that it has again only 3 steps, because it's a very nice idea what is the coordination and the cooperation and communication between the different person of a team. Next, please. If you are a surgeon, you have to do certain things. During the procedure, you have to be sure that you are only using X-ray, contrast instruments, swabs, sponges, towels, anything. And of course, you can alter them. I mean, you can remove the contrast. Okay, meanwhile you are working in the procedure, be aware that if you are using very small, tiny things, tiny swabs, and you are operating in a very obese patient, maybe you can lose it. So use your common sense meanwhile you are doing the procedure. But when being a surgeon, you have a second main or key step in this protocol. You have to do a very strict bone review before closing. And before starting to close, you have to call out and say to on the whole team that you think that there is nothing inside the patient. Once this is done, you as surgeon and as responsible for the whole process, finally you have to do a final count, a final verification of whatever has been counted during, whatever has been counted by the nurses at the end of the procedures. So, but as I said, this is an example of coordination. Next slide, please, Leven. If you are a nurse, you have, let's say, the same things to be done, but in a different, but a slightly different. This means that during the procedures, the nurses has to do a counting in order not to lose exactly the idea of what is happening there. They have to record this in, let's say, something useful, something that can be erased and can be checked once in a while. And of course, they have to keep in mind that they are not only counting for towels, sponges, swabs, but also instruments and also sharps. And of course, if you're removing anything from inside the patient, let's say, for instance, you are operating a patient and you have a test tube inside, they have to check that whatever you remove is complete. So this is their task. Once we are approaching the final, we are going to close the patients, they have to do the closing count. So once the surgeon says, I think there is nothing left inside, the nurse started the main counting of everything. Instruments and everything has been that has been used. And this means and to do this properly, there are needed two people. Normally, the scrub nurse, because like we do work in a complex ambience, normally in our theaters, we always have a scrub nurse and a circulating nurse. But if you are working in a not so complex theater, and there is only one nurse, your scrub nurse, you have to do this final count with your scrub nurse. So this counting, in order to be properly performed, have to be done by two people that have to verify that everything is there. And once everything is okay, they have to do also, and they have to offer you everything for you to verify that everything was correct. So remember, this protocol, the nothing left behind protocol, is important, has to be properly performed, otherwise it will have legal implications for you. Please, Living, can we move on?
Yep.
Okay, let's move to another type of protocol that is also important in order to get this high standard outcome for our patient, which is the surgical site infection zero. Okay, next one, please. This surgical protocol is also included within the different items that we have into the ESTS checklist. Next, please. And although there are a lot of different items that we can do in order to improve the prevention of your surgical site infection, I'm going to go only through these three items, three topics: the scrubbing method, the skin preparation, and the fasting, which are topics in which there are some news, some innovations, and in which we have, as I said at the beginning, we have very well-known principles that we are not using in most of our theaters. So please move on to the first area. We are going to talk about the scrubbing method. Please, next one. According to this, I hope it's clear for everybody that when we are going to operate, of course, we have to done everything. I mean, we have to wear our proper attire that has to be properly sterile and all those things. Okay. No doubt about the way, I mean, the use of mask as soon as you are getting closer to the patient, and your gown, and of course your your cap. I hope that everybody agrees that they have to do a water washing hand before anything in certain cases. That is quite clear. I mean, you have something that is clear, dirty in your hands, or you have gone to the water close right now, and things like that. I mean, this is so basic, and I'm going to cover that. But what is not so clear is what happened about the surgical hand disinfection. Let's move on, please. In 2009, when the World Health Organization released his huge report on safety, at that time it was completely recommended to use alcoholic-based hand wraps because they were more effective than any other agents. There were different types of formulations, but depending on the formula that you have chosen, it could be more effective at the beginning or more effective keeping your hands clear from cultures, I mean colonies, culture colonies, more or less time during the procedure. They also established a quite useful method on how to apply this hand wrap, and I think that all we agree on that. What was a surprise, please, can we move on? In 2016, there was a very nice systematic review that you can find at the Cochrane, trying to set up the optimal method for hand antisepsis. It was well, there was a need because there were a lot of discussion about what was the best formula, what was the best concentration, there were several items in where there were some doubts about, even though it seems to be clear at the World Health Organization, it was not clear in the daily basis. So what they discovered in this systematic report review was that it is okay. I mean, you can use those alcoholic-based hand wraps. Of course, your hands are clean for colonies, or they have less colonies, but they did not change the number of surgical site infections. So after that, because the evidence was was low or very low, the quality of the evidence of all those things, the only thing that was possible to be concluded after this systematic review is that it seems that Chlorexidin aqueous scrubs were better than the povidone iodine aqueous scrubs, but and maybe using some formula, some alcoholic formula, you can have less a number of surgical site infections, but it was not clear at all. So now currently, let's move on. Can we move to the next slide? Oh, I'm sorry. What is clear after 3 years of discussion is that finally we are using Chlorexidin alcoholic-based hand wraps as the preferred method, because one thing that is important that was not taken into account in previous reports is that using this, the quality of the local tap water loses importance. So you can go any place in the world and use this Chlorexidin alcoholic-based hand wraps, and your results will be exactly the same. So after so many discussions, we are going back to the same point where we were in 2009. Okay, let's move on. So once we have a clear idea of what is happening, a certain doubt have appeared not so recently, because there are some research done on this. It is about, the doubt is about how um, how how good are the gloves once they have been used for a very long time. It's been discovered that after 90 minutes of continuous use of gloves, those gloves get some micropores. So you get in contact with the patient. So the only way to solve this, because they have tried changing types of materials and other things have been, another type of strategies have been tried in order to avoid this. There is no way to avoid this happening of micropores in your gloves. So currently, the idea is, if you are involved in, let's say, in a very high risk procedure, let's say we are going to introduce a prosthesis in this patient, the only way to keep out, or to keep the surgical site infections close to zero, is to wear 2 pair of gloves. If not, if this procedure is not a high complex procedure, or a high let's say complex in the term, in the meaning that there is a high risk of infection, what you can do is you change your gloves every after 90 minutes of working. So again, I'm sure that these final decisions will take again a lot of literature in our media in order to improve these surgical site infections. But it seems like we need to change our gloves more often than we are doing now, and especially if we are going to do a procedure in which some prosthesis is involved. Okay, can we move on, please? But we are getting prepared to touch the patient, but how are we preparing the patient? Okay, so according to this, there is a clear statement. There is no doubt about this. There is a lot of literature that where you can find ideas about different not different, because everybody concludes exactly the same. Preoperative shower is efficient, decreasing surgical site infections. At least it has to be performed once before the procedures, the night before. But you can use, what is not important for the efficacy of this procedure is what type of soap are you using. Okay, so you can use Chlorexitin or you can use a non-medical soap. Either one will work, but you have to shower your patient. Okay, next, please. The second idea is about hair removal. What to do about it? And again, there is a lot of literature that you can go through, but can we move to the conclusions, please? Next. The conclusion is, do not perform a hair removal preoperatively of your patient unless it is necessary. Let's say if you are a neurosurgeon and you are going to operate on the head and the patient is not bald, of course you need to remove the hair. If you are going to operate a very hairy patient, then you need to do a hair removal. Otherwise, there is no need for that. And if you need to do it, use the clipping system better than any other type of shaving, nor mechanical nor chemical. Okay? And of course, after shaving, after clipping, the patient needs to be showered again. And again, it doesn't matter if you are using a medical or a non-medical soap for this second, extra shower. Okay, can we move on, please? I will go faster. Again, there is a nice literature, but all of it based on clean surgery to do a specific preparation of the patient's skin. Can we move to the next one, please? The method is use any Chlorexitin alcohol-based solution Use the appropriate application, apply it and repeat at least 2 times. Let it to dry completely, which means waiting around 2 minutes. It will avoid also fires when you are working on the skin. Observe if there are any puddles or drenched areas because you need to dry them before proceeding, and never use plastic adhesive tapes because they will clearly increase the number of surgical infections. Okay, let's move on, please. So, although it seems not to be related to, it is very related to when we are to surgical infections, the way we do the fasting of our patients. It is interesting that since 1986, we know that it's safe for the surgery to offer clear fluids to our patient up to 2 hours before the procedure. But in most of the units, this is not done at all. At the same time, for a lot of studies, we know that prolonged fasting is inappropriate for approaching or fighting the surgical stress. But we are keeping the patients in a long fasting time. And for some patients, some type of patients, especially children and elderly patients at hours, because we are operating older and older patients every day, this can be also detrimental. So then why are we doing that? I don't know why, but we are not applying this basic idea. So next slide, please. What are we talking about when we say about clear liquids? We are talking about water, pulp-free juices, but also about tea and coffee without milk or with a little drops of milk. It is considered to be also a clear liquid, a coffee or a tea that has 1 part out of 5 of milk, no more than that. Some drops, a little bit of milk is admitted as a clear liquid. Anything else, it should be considered as a solid, and for solids we need to fast at least 6 hours before surgery in order to avoid some things. Can we move on, please? So when we are talking about clear fluids, it doesn't mean that the patient has to drink only water. We can add some maltodextrin to this water. It will also be considered a clear fluid, and it will improve the situation of our patient after for the recovery after surgery. So, and we have a level of evidence of 1+ and a grade of recommendation A. But for most of our units, we are not applying this well-known principle. So please remember about this, because maybe it will be interesting to do a change in your strict surgical protocol. Okay, can we move on? So what is the proper procedure? I mean, how, after discussing this very briefly, these ideas that we can find into the ESTS checklist, the doubt is, what is the proper procedure to do this checklist? Okay, let's move on, please. The proper procedure is very simple because we have a very good tool, very simple, and but it needs a little bit of support from everybody, especially from the leader. There should be who has to do this checklist. It has to be a designated person. There are some parts in which there was a time, at the beginning when the checklist started to move on, there were some parts in where the surgeon should be the leader. It was okay, the surgeon should be the leader in the first part. Then maybe the circulating or the senior nurse has to be the leader for the second and the third part of this checklist. Nowadays, the idea is to designate a person. And depending on how stable are the groups in which you are working with, this person can be anybody. anybody, because everybody is getting into this routine. So for instance, one good idea is to have like a senior nurse or the circulating nurse that will start all the procedure. And once she gets designated, she's the one who is going to do the checklist all over the rest of the surgical until the sign out, until you left the theater. So this is the main idea. Somebody from your group that feels, if you have a stable group, somebody who feels comfortable and who can collect data and information from everybody. If your group is not stable, you need to design a person, maybe an external person who does this procedure every time. And maybe in this situation, the problem you are going to find is that you will see, like in most of the videos that you can find in the YouTube, I mean, it looked like those videos in where it seems like you have a lieutenant with a list on, just checking everything. But this is the only way. When your group is not stable and your team changes a lot, it's the only way that you can perform a proper checklist. Okay, let's move on, please. So how do we do the initial, the first step in of the checklist? This is what is called timing and sync in, or sometimes you can find it as breathing. At this moment, I mean, during this stage of the checklist, you will check for the universal protocol, safe anesthesia protocol. I didn't mention about this, but we will see, they have a lot of things to work on. And also we will look for many items of the surgical site infection zero protocol. Okay, let's move on. One important point in this moment, and this is the previous one, please. This one. One very important point in this moment, in this stage of the checklist, is that the patient is still awake and should be encouraged to participate. This means that he has to answer questions. And he has to be an observer that everybody, the whole team that is present around him, is doing things, but at the same time that they are doing things like monitoring, putting the warm, everything that is happening, everybody agrees on the procedures, on in any, that is no doubt about what is going to be done. There is a lot of literature also about how good feeling how all these procedures produces good feelings and about safety and security in the patient itself. So this is very, very simple and very, very important. So let's move on. The second stage is really important. It's what is called timeout. But as you can see, it is between two stop signals, because really this means that before starting the bound, no doubt can be about certain things. So the person who is in charge of doing the checklist in this moment has to take the lead, stop everything. I mean, nobody's doing anything. She or he has to catch the focus of the attention of everybody, and everybody has to communicate and answer all the questions. Next, please. And it is quite clear that at least the team should agree that they are operating on the correct patient, on the correct site, and about the procedure to be done. This is the minimum. But this has to be, everybody has to do it in loud voice, that they agree on these three statements, at least. Next, please. Of course, there are a lot of things. I mean, if you go into what is called the timeout, this part of the checklist, you will see that there are many different items. And this timeout has to be repeated whenever a new staff arrives, which means that we change its nurses, for instance, or we change its surgeons also. And when a new procedure is going to be done in the same patient. So we have to, let's say, we have to start from the beginning again with the patient. If we do this, probably we are not going to have any error, and things will be much better also for the patient. And finally, please, next slide, Leven. And finally, there is the sign out or the debriefing period in which we are going to check about the nothing left behind protocol. Again, we are going to check some items on the surgical site infection zero protocol. There will be some issues on equipment, on SPSM, and of course, we have to discuss with the surgeon and especially with the anesthetist about preparing for transferring the patient to the recovery room, whatever it is. So, next, please. As I said, the checklist is a very humble, a very, very useful tool, but it needs a teamwork, self-discipline, and vision in order to make things better, to make it to work, really to work. So next, please. This goes to my conclusion that you should standardize and use your checklist, and if you don't have it, use the ESTS specific checklist that we have developed for this specific type of complex procedure. Well, thank you very much. That was my talk. No, don't think about this. This was just an extra slides that I got there just to, well, if there were some ideas or some questions about the topic. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry that we are late, but it was not because of the technical errors, we were in trouble.
Okay, thank you, Nuria. I'm just going to come back from behind this computer.
Well, it's been very nice. Thank you very much for your effort.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Thank you very much.
We could solve it in that way. I just remembered a few things, and I just put it in questions in the meanwhile. Maybe this is something interesting for the audience also. I have one question for the audience. Did you ever experience a never event? Another one is, do you routinely use Chlorexitin alcohol hand rub? Do you routinely wear double gloves, or you change gloves after 90 minutes of long-lasting high-risk procedures? Do you routinely use Chlorexitin for prepping your patients, or do you use something else? And do you routinely use pre-op maltodextrin as an allowed liquid before the operation? So maybe that's something for the audience. They can.
Okay, let's see.
If there's any other questions, you can ask them, of course, to Professor Novoa.
Okay, let's see.
So we already have 50% of never events.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's well. Then I hope that all those of you that have experienced one of those Sentinel events, that is another name for never event, I hope you have solved it clearly, or maybe it was a near miss. I mean, maybe you never, there was almost left a foreign body inside the patient, but to get into in time to do a review of your pound, or maybe to do an X-ray and found it before leaving the OR. I hope it is. I don't know if they have any legal consequences, but 50% is a lot.
Well, no, it's not anymore. It's 20
Well, no,
degrees. Okay.
it's not anymore. Yeah, it's coming down. Well, I'm glad to see that.
And then the
Although
routinely use of the alcohol hand rub, it's almost 90%. So most of
50%.
of the people are doing this. Changing gloves.
Well,
Yeah, please.
about the routine use of chlorexidine, I would like to say that if some of your colleagues are using any other type of hand rubs, it's perfectly allowed. I mean, the quality of the evidence that we have about the chlorexidine is really low. It's really low. Although they produces less colonies in your hands when they took the cultures in those studies, it is not clear that it decreases the number of surgical site infections. So do not, let's say, do not fight for the chlorexidine alcohol hand rubs. And if there is anybody who has an intolerance or doesn't want to use it or is allergic to any of those products, please be patient. Everything is exactly the same. There are no real differences. Okay, so don't get angry with your partner.
Okay.
Okay, about changing globes. Okay, if almost 60%, that's an important amount. Yeah, that's a good percentage. So I would like, I don't know, and about the other one, do you prepare your patients routinely with chlorexidine? Yes. So it seems like there is still a certain percentage using probably povidone iodine, the rest.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
again, it seems that it is good for decreasing the number of surgical site infections, but again, the quality of the evidence is low, so you have to respect. If there is somebody that argues you and shows you good evidence for that, I can say that we cannot argue with. I mean, we cannot fight against this decision. And I see that, well, I hope that at least you learned that from this talk, that you can use this maltodextrin without changing the situation of clear liquids with your patients. And it will help a lot. Those patients, even diabetic patients, will benefit for using these clear liquids with maltodextrin on it in order to have a better outcome after surgery. Well, I think I don't know if there is any other questions. I mean, somebody that's a.
For the moment, there's no new questions. If people want to ask a question at the moment right now.
Okay, then I want to ask a question again.
Okay.
Who normally leads the checklist in your theaters? Is this a circulating nurse? Is this a senior nurse? It is at the beginning the surgeon, and then after maybe the anesthetist, maybe another nurse, some type of assistant, let's say a fellow, or I'm curious about that.
Okay, I'm trying to type this down.
Okay.
This scrub nurse. I hope there's not too many typos.
Okay, let's see. Now circulating scrub nurse.
Only 4 people awake anymore.
Only 4 people, yeah, let's see. There are 24 people there, so okay, well, it seems like okay. Currently, there is a lot of people that thinks that probably a circulating nurse is the one that is the best person, but it depends a lot on the team, a lot. And one of the things is the way the way your team is. If it is an stable team, probably your circulating nurse will be perfect because they can, they are close to everybody. So they can be collecting ideas. I mean, there is no need to do the checklist, as I said, as a lieutenant. But taking the paper on top and checking everything. That's why it is allowed the scrub nurse to do it, because as long as you can deal with it and you have in mind very clearly exactly what are the different items you have to go through, you don't need to, let's say, record it immediately. So you can lead the checklist verification and somebody else can record it somewhere. But of course, you have to take into account that you have to be controlling it very well. But the idea is that somebody, if you have a stable team, you need somebody who can make this connection with everybody. So if somebody is not answering, there is not going to be any problem, because this person will ask twice, please, can you pay me attention and tell me about this, whatever it is. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't listen to you. Can you repeat your answer? Or things, and this kind of things that can happen, because as I said, there are a lot of conditions that modify the way we work every day. So depending on how is your team and how is your theater, you will find the best person. But of course, if you have not an stable team, you need to apply somebody from outside. There's no way to do it.
Okay, we have one comment on that the timeout is done by nurse, surgeon, and anesthesia. Of course, it is done by everyone, but there should be someone taking the lead and asking the questions, that we don't forget anything. That's actually the idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the point. Well, I'm sorry it's so late.
Yes, we're very sorry, and we apologize for the technical problems. I hope to solve this by next time. Thank you, Professor Novoa, for this very interesting talk and the interaction with the audience. I have to tell you that the next webinar, and this will be the last one for this season, will be on Monday, May 20th, about new technology, the role of simulation in thoracic surgery, with René Petersen. So I hope to see all of you back within about 1 month. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you to everybody.
Bye.
Bye.